Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad to have you here. Today I'm going to be taking you through my process to prepare a head to be rooted. I'll be showing you what I have already done and how I create a hair map. So this is the head as I have it at the moment, all ready for rooting. So far what I have done is completely painted the head. I have also used Liquitex Gel Matte Medium and I've covered the entire head and face with that. I use it on the face to create skin texture and I have some other videos that show you how I do that. And then once that medium was dry, I went in with Americana Ultra Matte Varnish and went over the entire face with that. Now when I do painted hair, I will use that varnish all over the entire head. However, when I'm rooting, I only varnish the face and the ears. And this is because I have found that when you go in with a needle, if there are areas that you have varnished, you end up with little tiny white specks where the varnish slightly peels up, which is why I have only varnished the face. But I do add a couple of layers of varnish and make sure that there is a decent amount of varnish on the ears because this is one of the first places to rub. If you look closely, you can also see that I have added peach fuzz to this baby. So a lot of this is painted, but I also used fibres which I stuck in the varnish. I use Prismacolour pencils for drawing on the head, so that helps me create the map and stick to it. I've got two colours here, light umber and dark umber. And I usually start with the light one because it is barely visible, and then if I need it to be stronger, I will go in with the darker colour. I find it really useful to have the two different colours because depending on the colour that the hair is going to be, for example, if I'm rooting like a blonde or a light brown, I might not want this darker colour to show. And if I'm working on a darker skin tone, then I definitely need the darker one to show up at all. Now I always start with the crown, so I start by drawing in what would be the swirly part, and I find that just by looking at the head and then you think, okay, it's around, like not right at the top, but not right here at the back, so round in the middle and in the middle here as well. And I will just go in with my pencil and start creating a swirl. You can see that this colour barely shows up, which is why you might want to go over it or go in with the darker colour as well. But I like to get the shape first before I kind of commit to the darker colour. So this is going to be the start of my swirl. And there's many times where I have done this, haven't been happy, and I've just gone over and redone it. And this, as it doesn't show up very much, it's not really an issue. So I just make sure I am happy with that swirl. And I like quite a big swirl. I like it to be quite noticeable that there is a swirl there at all. So start almost like a question mark. Yeah, it's like a question mark shape. And then bring that down the back of the head. Again, it's like a very curvy question mark. Now I don't draw arrows on for the direction that I'm going to be rooting in because I already know what direction that is, but if you wanted to, you could draw arrows in to make it very clear that you were rooting in this direction. Now when I'm coming round to the front, I like to bring it so it kind of continues in that swirl pattern, and then it might go around a little bit and then come, and it's up to you whether you want it to go like straight forward at the front or off to the side. I quite like doing it off to the side because a lot of hair is like that, and I like to make it so that I can gather the hair, so there will end up being more hair in this section, particularly if I go like this. So I would be rooting kind of following this way with the hair gathering towards this line, and I'm just going to continue following that kind of pattern, and I'll have it that the hair comes around this way, maybe put some little lines in there just to make sure I know which way it's coming. And then if I'm looking at the side, well, again, everything I'm bringing out is from this swirl. And I'll tell you, when I'm painting hair, I do exactly the same thing. I start with a map similar to this, and then I just go in with a paintbrush rather than a rooting needle. So out the back here, as though everything's still coming out of that swirl. I might bring it across, it might come down here, down this way, gathering it into the back of the head as well, because usually there are just areas that come in a bit more, that get more hair. And I will go over this in the darker colour so it is more visible. Now for this area, I like to just continue that. So it's going to end up as kind of a curve, and we'll be rooting around this way, which just makes it look very natural, I have found. So I will keep making those, and you see it would come down here, and then I always do a little bit that comes in front of the ear as well. And essentially I'll just repeat that on the other side. So for the other side, I am still coming around from that crown area, making sure everything flows. So I'm happy with how that's going to flow. And again, that's the line of the swirl. So I will bring that forward. Happy with how the swirl goes up to this front bit here. And like this. And then just linking until I'm happy with those areas. And it might be that as I'm rooting, I decide, I'm not so happy about this, I'm going to slightly change it, and that's fine as well. So I like to make a little bit behind the ear, and then doing exactly the same to that front section. I'm bringing a little bit down. So then once I'm happy with how this has come out, I will go in, if I feel the need, with the darker colour. I am actually going to be rooting this baby in a light brown, so I don't really need to go over it with this, but for the sake of the video, I thought I would show you. It doesn't need to look stunning or particularly precise. It just needs to be able to guide you and your eyes only. And then also for the video, you can see I have added some arrows so you get an idea of the direction that you're rooting in. And essentially it is always towards that swirl. And when I start rooting, I always start right at the back of the head at the bottom here, because if you're trying to do this last after you've already rooted other ones, it's a lot harder to root underneath hair you've already put in. And if you mess up here, there's no issues, no one's really going to see it. My process is essentially to root most of the back and then move along both sides of the head and then start at the front and move back this way. And the last thing I always do is this crown. And for this little boy, I'm planning on doing a mix of these two hair colours. I really hope this has been helpful. Let me know if you have any questions and I will try and answer them. And hopefully I will see you next time.